Okay, it's been long overdue since we got back together to learn Tehillim. Unfortunately, it takes a war in Eretz Yisrael to make us realize how important Tehillim are in our lives. And I would just like to remind us of something that we spoke about, I think years ago already, when we made the introductions to the Sefer Tehillim. Dovid HaMelech goes down in history as probably being the greatest warrior in all of Klal Yisrael's long and arduous battles and wars that they ever fought. He was constantly at battle, he was running his armies, he was running the country, and Dovid HaMelech certainly was well versed in the travails of fighting the enemy and what had to be done in order to win a war. And as much as Dovid HaMelech is always on the top of his game, and he is always with all the war plans and the battle plans in front of him, it's very clear that Dovid HaMelech understood that the only way that Klal Yisrael is going to win any single battle that there ever will be in history is if the words of Tehillim and the Tfilos to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and beseeching Hashem for success and for victory is going to be on the lips of his soldiers and on the lips certainly of the rest of Klal Yisrael. So we are not in the army of the IDF, and we are not on the front lines, and we are not picking up guns and battling. We're not even the ones that are zeichet to be able to treat the soldiers to a glass of water or to a meal or to give them things that they need. The only ammunition that we can offer to the soldiers and to the war that is going on at this moment in time is the ammunition that Dovid HaMelech has left over for us with all of the bullets and all of the arsenal of Tehillim. And there are many Tehillim that are said specifically at these times, and that's what is being said in all of the shuls around the world. Maybe the women are on different Tehillim chats where you're saying certain Tehillim every single day, which are geared towards winning battles and protecting our soldiers and protecting Klal Yisrael. But the truth of the matter is that any word of Tehillim that is going to be uttered and said is something that is going to find tremendous favor in the eyes of Hashem, something that is very powerful in the world. We know that we don't live in a physical world only. There are spiritual realms that are taking place all of the time. And therefore, anybody who engages in the battlefront in the spiritual form and that direction and the way they engage themselves in that way, that is no less than anyone that is doing anything with the guns in their hands and fighting in the Gaza Strip right now and risking their lives. As long as we do it sincerely and we do it purely and we try our best to put our energies into the words of Tehillim that Dovid HaMelech has left over for us for all of eternity. So we're learning this as a schus, not just for ourselves, all the CHIZUK that we gained over the years in Tehillim. We use Tehillim to give us strength throughout the years of COVID, where we needed extra siyata d'shemai and extra Emunah and bitachon and menuchas hanefesh to be able to get through things. We used it in the times when the world is still topsy-turvy, didn't settle back to its place. And in the last, 6 months, it was just learning Tehillim for the sake of Tehillim. I think there was, for a lot of the time, when I would send out the shir, it was Tehillim for challenging times, something like that. And then for 6 months, we had no challenges. Baruch Hashem. Then we took a vacation for 6 months, so there was really no challenges. But now we're back in challenging times once again. It's the whole world itself is exploding at all seams and every corner. There is really no place that is safe in the world at this point. Nobody knows from 1 minute to the next exactly what HaKadosh Baruch has in store for Klal Yisrael and for the world. I think that if a protest of 100,000 pro-Hamas protesters can take place in Washington, D.C., and condemn the President and the United States and the Jewish people just like that, I think that we have to realize that as maybe comfortable as we are in the gullus over here in California, in America, for all these years, that level of comfortability has come to an end. It's not a safe place. It's not a comfortable place. People are walking the streets. They're always looking over their shoulder these days. You hear somebody scream. You think he's screaming at you. You hear a car pull up quickly next to you on the road. You think, chas v'shalom, it's the worst, God forbid. We have to stay calm. And Tehillim is to keep us calm. Tehillim has been the antidote and the calming agent of all centuries of Klal Yisrael in the gas chambers, in the pogroms, in the inquisitions, in the Galus, in the exiles. When Klal Yisrael was leaving Yerushalayim, they were singing the songs of Tehillim because this is what gives us our fortitude and gives us our strength to stay focused and clear, to understand who we are and what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from us and desires from us in these moments. So it's really with no coincidence that we're holding by Mizmor Samech Zayin, Tehillim 67. And as we'll see in the introduction to this particular Tehillim, this is really a battle cry of Dovid HaMelech. And it's something for us to think deeply about over the next couple of weeks while we study this particular Tehillim and see how we can apply these messages to our lives. So I'm going to go through the introduction that we have been going through in every Tehillim by Rav Foyer, how he writes so beautifully about what to keep in mind while we're learning this particular Tehillim. And he writes like this: HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals this extraordinary psalm. He revealed it to Moshe Rabbeinu originally, and then later he revealed it to Dovid HaMelech. We know throughout Tehillim, although that a large portion of Tehillim was written exclusively by Dovid HaMelech, there are other authors to some of the Tehillim, as we've seen before, Bnei Korach, the children of Korach, and Moshe Rabbeinu was also the author of some of the Tehillim. Says Rav Foyer, you should know that this Tehillim that we're about to learn originally was revealed to Moshe Rabbeinu, and then later on, whatever it would come out to be, 1,000 years later, so it was revealed to Dovid HaMelech as well. And both of these great men, Moshe and David, were given a holy vision, and this particular Tehillim was engraved on a sheet of the purest gold, which was fashioned in the shape of the 7-branched menorah from the Beis HaMikdash. Let's keep this in mind. When this Tehillim came down min hashamayim to Moshe and to Dovid HaMelech, it appeared on gold, and it was in the shape of the menorah that was in the Beis HaMikdash. So what did Dovid HaMelech do with this? He duplicated this Tehillim in the menorah design, and he etched it onto his shield. Dovid HaMelech is the warrior. He's going out to battle. But he knows that the only way in which he's going to be able to win the battle is because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to decide that he will win. So he's going into the battles not just with his might and his army behind him and his shield and his weapons. They didn't have tanks and they didn't have AK-47s and they didn't have missiles and bombs. They didn't have any of that. What did they have? They had a sword, they had some arrows, and they had a shield. So Dovid HaMelech took this menorah and he etched it into his shield so that he would be able to study the teachings of this particular Tehillim before he went into the battle. And in the schos of this, the menorah, with the words of that Tehillim being etched into the menorah itself, and looking at it and learning it and thinking about the message that is behind this Tehillim, that was the merit that he had that would assure Dovid HaMelech his victory in battle. So this Tehillim, again, by no chance over here, as we haven't had Tehillim shir in about 3 or 4 months. Embarrassingly, I embarrass myself by saying such a thing, but we're starting today at a time when Klal Yisrael needs HaKadosh Baruch Hu's assurance to be able to win the victories that are at hand, and this Tehillim was etched in the mugging, in the shield of Dovid HaMelech. So I just want to show you, he brings out a picture of it over here, so you should know, maybe you've seen this sometimes in the shul, but this is what it looked like. This, for those of you can see, this is the menorah. The words of the Tehillim are written in the menorah itself, and this is what Dovid HaMelech had in his shield as he went out to battle, because the message that is in here is the message of what is the purpose of Klal Yisrael going out to fight our enemy all about. Why are we fighting the enemy? What are we trying to accomplish? What is the message that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to give over to that particular enemy, and as we're going to see in this Tehillim, to the world at large, about Klal Yisrael, about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and about what is the Tachlis HaChaim, what is the purpose of life. So when Dovid would meditate on these ideas and he would think to himself what he's doing when he goes out to battle, that itself would be part of his srus, his merit to be able to win the war. He brings down over here from one of the commentators called the Avodas HaKodesh, and he says that if a person concentrates daily on this menorah, meaning I guess you have to get this picture and you have to look at it on a daily basis, and you think about the message, again, not just good enough to look at the picture, you have to think about the message that is contained in the words of this Tehillim, it's considered as if you actually kindled the lights of the menorah in the Beis HaMikdash. And such a person surely is destined to go and inherit the world to come, Olam Haba. And, he writes, whoever recites this particular Tehillim while concentrating on its menorah design will surely be safeguarded from all evil and enjoy great success. So maybe we should make copies and we should send it off to the soldiers in Eretz Yisrael, and we should tell them the words of the Avodas HaKodesh, that if you read these words of this Tehillim and you understand to an extent what it is that the Tehillim is all about, so then it will be a great merit to safeguard a person from all evil and danger that there is, foreboding and lurking around in their lives, and they will have great success. And we know that the soldiers right now need tremendous success. They are in Gaza itself. They are hand-to-hand combat with terrorists that would kill them in a second if they had a chance. They're trying to rescue the hostages that are hiding somewhere underneath the earth in the web of tunnels. They need a lot of siyata d'shemaya and a lot of protection, and a lot of safeguarding, and a lot of success. And in the merit that we're learning this and we're trying to understand it, we should send out those messages to the soldiers that are there. Fine. So that is the introduction of Mizmor Samech Zayin 67, of the message of what it is. So again, the menorah has all the words of the Tehillim written in it. It's broken up, and I'm sure that there's a very Kabbalistic and lofty way in which it was broken up, and the way that it was written, and the directions and every single piece. The menorah itself is the illumination in the Beis HaMikdash. The menorah itself is the symbol of Chachma, of the wisdom of the Torah. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu's countenance. So therefore, as we'll see in the commentary, it is something about the countenance of Hashem, and Klal Yisrael having the Chachma, the wisdom and the das of Torah and the knowledge of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when we understand that that is all part of the battle cry of Klal Yisrael, so then it gives us much more siyata d'shemaya while we are going through the wars and the battles that we are confronting. So Rav Hirsch writes in this Tehillim, in the very beginning, he says like this, that this particular Tehillim, as we have somewhat hinted to and described, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is really, or Dovid HaMelech here, is turning to the future of what the world is going to look like when there is peace and there is harmony in the world. And that is that it's going to be as a result of the example that was set by Klal Yisrael, which is the recognition of the worship of HaKadosh Baruch Hu will become the common possession of all the nations. Meaning, and we spoke about this many times because Dovid HaMelech keeps pushing this idea. As of course, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants that each and every one of us are going to serve Hashem. And He wants that Klal Yisrael should be united under the umbrella of Avodas Hashem, serving Hashem. And that means that even though that we live in a generation, 75% of all of the Jewish people totally assimilated, have nothing at all to really do with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, His Torah and His mitzvahs, and that is a tragedy of tragedies. And therefore, the Klal Yisrael is incomplete. And we have to start, of course, working together with the Jewish people to get them. One of the amazing things of this entire battle is that it has united so much of Klal Yisrael into the world of Torah and of mitzvahs that they were so far from for years and years and years and years, wanted nothing to do with it. Everybody's beginning to realize That's the connector between every single Jew in the world is Torah, it's mitzvahs, it's tzitzis, it's tefillin. How many soldiers are out there in the battlefields putting on tefillin for the first time in their life? Wearing tzitzis for the first time in their life, hearing Kiddush on a Friday night from their tank commander who is a frum Jew for the first time in their life. How much is going on like that? It's happening, and there are Jews all over the world that are having hisarus, that are getting inspired, that are starting to keep Shabbos, that are starting to keep kosher, that are making decisions in their life to be more connected. But nevertheless, that doesn't solve all the problems. There's so much more that has to be done and taken care of. So of course HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants ultimately that every single Jew is under the umbrella of Torah and Avodas Hashem and Yiras Shamayim. Of course that is. But as we have learned, that's not enough. If all of Klal Yisrael is the only one that recognizes Hashem, you're still going to have 100,000 people protesting on the March of Washington. You're still going to have people putting swastikas on some lady's house in France over Shabbos and try to kill her. You're still going to have terrorists, and you're still going to have Hezbollah, and you're still going to have Iran and Iraq that are against us, and you'll have every single anti-Semite in the world that will want to destroy us. You still have that. Klal Yisrael is uniting as one. Says Dovid HaMelech, the world has to unite as one. And the world has to come under the understanding and the auspices of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we are all here in this world to serve Hashem and believe in Hashem and follow in the ways of Hashem. And that means whether they will convert to Judaism or they will remain a good Ehrlich non-Jew, which means that they will keep the 7 mitzvahs of Noach and they will be moral, upstanding people and they will support Klal Yisrael instead of being against us. That is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. To him who grants victory through the power of music, a psalm, a shir, a song. And that song is when the whole world in unison is singing the praises of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is looking for. And therefore he writes in the second verse, Elokim yechananenu, Hashem, you should grant us spiritual gifts. V'yavarchenu, and you should bless us. Yo'er panav itanu sela, make his countenance shine amongst us. Sela, which we know from previous Tehillim, means forever and ever and ever. So I want to start with some of the smaller comments over here by the other Meforshim, and then we'll come back to Rav Hirsch. So the Metzudas Dovid says over here the following idea. Yechanenu, what does it mean that Hashem should have chen? He should grace us, he should have compassion. Yaseh Emunah chanina. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, do with us chanina, which really means that grace, you should have grace on Klal Yisrael. Yo'er panav, yo'er lanu panim me'iros, you should shine your countenance upon us, v'seichakos, and smile at us, Hashem. When we live in a world where we see what we've seen over the last month, when we live in a world where we see that there is danger of Klal Yisrael that is lurking at every corner, when we see that there are enemies that are rising up in the world right now, and they're not abashed at all to say what they want to say and do what they want to do. So it's very hard to see the shining countenance and the smiling face of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that we have found chen, that we find favor in his eyes. So we are asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yo'er panav Hashem, you should enlighten your countenance upon us, and you should show us panim me'iros, a shining face, seichakos, that is smiling at us, because we want to be able to see that you are happy with us and pleased with us, and you are taking care of all of our needs. And therefore, and that's the next, we'll go to the next verse and then we'll come back. L'das ba'aretz darkecha, in order that your way will be known in the land, b'chol goyim yeshuasecha, amongst all of the goyim, all the nations, yeshuasecha will be your salvation. Says the Metzudas Dovid, b'chedei she'noida l'kol haaretz darkecha, in order that the whole world will know your way, Hashem. She'ata tishalem gemol lahaminim bach. You need to pay the reward, the just reward, to everyone that believes in you. If the world will see that there is a nation called Klal Yisrael, that are maminim, that we believe in Hashem, and we are loyal to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we are allegiance to the cause of the Ribono Shel Olam, and we're not wavering in our beliefs and our trust and our practice of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and maminim, we believe deeply in the Ribono Shel Olam, then says Dovid HaMelech, when everybody will see that, and they will see that you are paying us, you are repaying us for our trust, then b'chol goyim, all of the nations of the world, hachua shetase li'amecha, yinoida b'chol goyim, the salvation that you brought to Klal Yisrael will be known amongst all of the nations of the world. Meaning, the more that we are ma'aminim, the more that we are believers in Hashem, the more that we affirm our faith to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the more that we talk about Hashem, that we daven to Hashem, that we say Tehillim to Hashem, we do mitzvahs because HaKadosh Baruch Hu has commanded us, and we believe that Hashem has commanded us, and He wants us to do His mitzvahs. We're careful with our lashon hara, we're careful with our mitzvahs, we're careful with the things that we do. So then the world sees a nation of ma'aminim, people that are believers in Hashem. And when HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees ma'aminim, believers in Hashem, what does He do? So if HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you will save us and you will rescue us and you will make us victorious, then the world will realize that when Klal Yisrael is behaving the way that it's supposed to behave, following the pathways of Hashem, with Emunah Shleim and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they are redeemed and they are saved and they are rescued from the perils of life that are all around them. When the nations will see that, they can't help but to deny that there's a Ribono Shel Olam. They can't help to say, they have to admit, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is running the world. Hashem is taking care of His children. He's taking care of each and every one of them. And that's why they won that battle, and they won that battle, and that's why that hostage was freed, and that one was freed. That's why there was destruction, there was tragedy. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a cheshbon, He has a plan. We don't know what His plan is. He has a plan for everything. But when He sees us buckling down in our Emunah, and then He begins to give us victory upon victory upon victory and salvation from the difficulties that we are in, everybody around that sees such a thing, He's talking about the goyim, the nations of the world, they will see it. They cannot deny that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is running the show. And this is, I heard this from a person personally, and then I heard recently in a shir that somebody heard the same thing. And the idea is that, and I'm sure that I shared this before, I had a friend in yeshiva who had been in the Marines, if I'm not mistaken, or he was in the American Army. And they were going through all the wars throughout history and all the nations, how they fought their battles and their battle plans and how it is that you would know how to beat them and defeat them. And he left out Klal Yisrael. He left out the armies, the battles of the Jewish people, Israel. And so they asked him, what's the story? This guy was a Jew. He said, where is the Israeli army? He said, we left it off the list because that's one battle plan, that's one army, that's one nation that we have no idea how they win their wars. It's too miraculous for us to be able to study their battles to understand how they won. And the reason that there are miracles is because when HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees the Jewish people, the Emunah, when He sees us believing in Hashem and following HaKadosh Baruch Hu and doing what we can do to make the Jewish people a stronger nation, that's when He brings about the Yeshua, He brings about the salvation. And then, as it says in the pasuk over here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, at that point, He then brings all the nations, they see and they admit and they acknowledge that there's really Hashem in this world. And He's watching over Klal Yisrael. And He cares about the Jewish people. And He loves the Jewish people. And that's why they won the most impossible battles. And that's why they're able to do this and be able to do that. And there's so many already miracle stories that are coming out of Gaza and coming out of the borders and coming out of the places where the Jewish people have won and they should not have won. And they did win. And things went their way when you should not have gone their way. All these things that are happening is coming because we are ma'aminim, we believe in Hashem. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is revealing His hand amongst the Jewish people, which the world itself, Be'ez Hashem, they will see. And that's why it says in the next verse, Yoducha Amim, the nations will acknowledge, they will admit Elokim, Yoducha Amim Kulam, they will admit there is an Elokim, there is a God in this world. All of them will, Yoducha, all of them will acknowledge and they will admit. Says the Metzudas Dovid, what does this mean, Yoducha? Az Yoducha Kol Ha'umais B'Roisam. Then all of the nations will admit to HaKadosh, they will admit about Hashem. When they see you do not overlook the reward that should be given to those that believe in you, Hashem. That means that even the goy that's so far and distant from wanting to believe in Hashem, when they will see what Klal Yisrael is receiving in the schus of their Emunah, because that we believe in HaKadosh Baruch is watching, and He's taking care of, and He's guarding, and He's making miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle to ensure that our nation is going to continue to live. I mean, that's why is everybody worried? We have been living for thousands of years. We survived everything. There's no other nation in the history of the world that has survived as much persecution and tragedy as Klal Yisrael. Every other nation basically has disappeared. And Klal Yisrael is still with millions of people united as Jews, and still several million that are following the pathways of Torah. So it's true, we're living in hard times. And it's true, there's a war going on in Eretz Yisrael. And it's true, there are many enemies that are rising up all over the world right now. And they have no compunction. They're sharing all of their hatred and the anti-Semitic remarks and how much they would like to destroy us. Chas v'chalila. But if we're ma'aminim, if we believe in Hashem, that's our power. That's what Dovid HaMelech is saying. Our power is not in the guns and the ammunition. It's not in all of the UN and all of the wild things. So America's going to give us $14 billion of aid. That's nice. It will help us. But that's not why we're going to win the war. We're going to win the war. We're going to win the battle against evil in this world because we are ma'aminim, we are believers in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the same way that Avraham Avinu had Emunah in Hashem. And he passed it over to his son Yitzchak, and Yitzchak will pass it over to Yaakov, and Yaakov gave it over to his sons, and his sons gave it over to Klal Yisrael. That same Emunah from thousands of years ago is the Emunah that we are living with to this very single day. And whatever we received at Har Sinai, all of the Torah and all of the mitzvahs and all the hashkafa, all the outlook on life, the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given with all of the chazal and all the midrashim and everything that is there, we have the same exact emunah as they had 1,000 years ago and 2,000 years ago and 3,000 years ago. Between you and the Rambam, there is no difference in what is accessible to us for emunah. Between you and the Chavetz Chaim or the Rebbetzin of the Chavetz Chaim, it's the same. You have the same svarim at your disposal. You have the same kind of shiurim at your disposal. You can learn about what it means to be a maimin in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Maybe you didn't grow up with Emunah Pshuta, simple faith, the way that the Rebbetzin of the Chavetz Chaim did. Maybe Rabbi Akiva's wife was on a different madrega. She lived in a different time period, a different world. She wasn't bombarded and blasted by all the images and the clips and all the hatred that we hear around us. She didn't have to see all that. So she had an emunah that was pure and it was clean, unadulterated. So we have to struggle a little bit more. Those are our struggles in life. We have to work harder to garner the emunah inside of ourselves. Avraham Avinu, the Rambam says, spent 37 years to discover HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's teaching us that emunah doesn't come overnight. It doesn't get strong deep inside of our bones and our hearts and our soul overnight. It's something that takes years and years and years and years to work on. But when you're in battle, just like a soldier who wasn't able to train completely for the battlefield, but he gets called up and he has to go, and he's going to do his best to fight the war, so okay, we're being called up at this moment in history. Maybe we didn't have 20 years or 30 years or 40 years or the whole Masorah we didn't have of Emunah to get it so clear in our heads. But the battle's going on right now. So we have to push ourselves to the next level of Emunah to be able to get to that place that we are called Ma'aminim, we're called the believers in the Ribono Shel Olam. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees our deep-seated levels of Emunah in our kishkas inside of ourselves. And he says, in the schus of that Emunah, of that woman over there in Los Angeles, California, I'm going to help this soldier over here in the battle. In the schus of that Emunah, of this woman who affirmed her faith to HaKadosh Baruch Hu one night all by herself. At 11 o'clock, she's tired and she just finished watching the news for the 17th time. And she's going crazy. And she says, Hashem, you know what? It's not about CNN. It's not about the news. It's about you, Rabbi Shalom. I trust in you. So they'll find that hostage. And they'll get her out of there. And they'll bring her home to her family. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bring miracles to the ma'aminim, to the people that believe in Hashem. Which means that if you really want to work on your Emunah, you have to work in a way that is conducive to your Emunah. You can't look at things and read things and listen to things that are trying to thwart your Emunah. All in this, I can't say it enough because I also hear many other Rabbanim and many of the people speaking about this. You know, we are all curious individuals, and we all like to know what's going on in the world. But why don't you speak to someone who's living in Yerushalayim right now? He knows about a fraction of what you know about that's going on in the war. And because that he only knows a fraction, because he's not watching the news day and night, he's able to wake up in the morning peaceful and relaxed. He's able to go and daven like a yid. He sits and he learns, and his mind is not completely distracted and afraid of who's going to walk into the room, chas v'chalila. He's not listening. Can he hear a signal of a missile that's coming already? He's just going along, and he's doing his job. Ma'amina b'HaKadosh Baruch Hu, exactly what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. And those of us that are thousands of miles away from the battlefields, from the front lines, we're hooked up to Arutz 7. Then we have these dishes on the top of our house that bring in every single Israeli news station. The worst in the world. The Israeli news stations and CNN and the Fox News. And what does it do for us? It bolsters your Emunah? It makes you believe more in HaKadosh Baruch Hu? No. It just makes you more scared, more anxious, more fearful, more worried, more unknown, and you don't know what's going to happen. That's not Emunah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu needs Emunah right now from Klal Yisrael. He needs everybody to buckle down in the world of Emunah. You have to learn Svarim that will strengthen your Emunah. You have to go to classes that will strengthen your Emunah. You have to weed out the things in the world that you know hurt your Emunah. My wife decided she cannot hear or listen to the news or watch anything at nighttime. Because if she does, that's it. She sees one wrong picture, one wrong headline, one wrong thing, and we're not even talking about graphic. It's just one wrong thing that the world is representing. That's it. She's disturbed for the whole night. Not worth it. And if you watch it in the morning, and then you have this in your mind the whole day, on edge. No. Hashem says, listen to me. I need ma'aminim b'Hashem. I need people that will believe in the Rebbeinu Shalom. What does it mean to believe in Hashem? The same way that Avram and Rivka and Rachel and Leah and Sari Menu, the same way that Rachel, who was the wife of Rabbi Akiva, the same way that Bruriah from the Gemara, the same way that the Rebbe's in the Chavetz Chaim, the same way that all of them believed in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you have to believe in Hashem as well. They had an advantage. They didn't have TV. They didn't have a phone in their pocket that has hookup to everything they want. They didn't have to go and read the front page of the newspaper where it's, the newspaper is like dark. It has these headlines that you think the world is coming to an end right now, and it's all the Jews' fault. They didn't have to look at the headlines. They read Tehillim. They went through the Parsha. When they were weak, they would ask their husbands something like CHIZUK. They went to a shir here and there. The ladies got together for Tehillim gatherings and Harfashas Chal and all the things that we're doing right now. That's where we need to spend our time. Spend your time in positive places that are going to emblazon you in Emunah. And that way, says the Radak, then the Umas Ha'olam, the nations will see, you don't skip over the rewards. For those people that are ma'aminim, that believe in you, Hashem, you actually repay a person for his Emunah. Even the Goy will be able to see that and say, whoa, Klal Yisrael, special nation over here. Maybe we should think about supporting them instead of trying to destroy them. Maybe we should think about being on their side instead of being against them. And then Klal Yisrael unites together, and then the whole world unites around HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they serve Hashem in a way that they're supposed to serve Hashem. So that's how the Metzudas Dovid explains those verses. Rav Hirsch says like this. Rav Hirsch writes in the second verse, Elokim Yechaneinu HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you need to grant us spiritual gifts. That's the way Rav Hirsch explains it. V'yavarcheinu, you should bless us. Yo'ir pana b'itanu, and shine your countenance amongst us, settle forever. Says Rav Hirsch, so beautifully as he always does. What's the word that he says, Chanenu, that we should find grace, grant us something, Hashem? Chanan, he says, always speaks about the mental talents and capacities of a person, especially when it's coming in conjunction with bracha, which means the more economical and the physical blessings that are there. Meaning, what's the most primary thing to Klal Yisrael? The ruchni, the intellectual capacity, the mind that you have, or the gashmis, the physical things that we're going to receive here in this world, those blessings. Says Rav Hirsch, as we know, intellectual ability has always been the prime desire that's within the heart of Klal Yisrael. What's going on up here and what's going on inside of here is much more important than what's going on in the world around us. How many people went through the Holocaust, and you hear story after story, that they were living in Gehenna, but their minds were attached to the Ribbono Shel Olam. Their hearts were piercing the heavens with their tefillas and their belief and their Emunah b'HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And although that there was a world of destruction around them, they were living with Hashem. That's only something that someone who is a spiritual individual, who's connected to their neshama, connected to their soul, is able to transcend what is going on in the physical world and connect themselves to something much more spiritual. Says Rav Hirsch, what is Dovid asking for over here? He's saying, give us the gifts of ruchni, of spirituality, before we get into the gifts over here of the gashmi, of the physical. And therefore he says, if you look in the first of the supplications that we have in Shemona Esrei, we say, Ata chaynein la'adam da'as. You, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you bestow up to a man das, understanding, knowledge. And then after that bracha, then it begins all of the physical blessings that Hashem is going to give us. Which means that what? In order to receive the benefits that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to bring to this world, first I have to be able to perceive what Hashem's will is. If my mind is working in the right way, if my mind is able to be clear and focused to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then I'll get to a place where I can understand what Hashem wants, and then I'll live my life accordingly, and then the other brachas in my life can come. And this is why we're saying that it's so important during this time. Got to keep your minds clear. You got to keep them working properly, the way that a Jew is supposed to think about things. And how do we do that? Hashem, you grant me knowledge. You grant me wisdom. You grant me insight. You keep my mind working in a way that I should see what it is that you're ratzon. What is your will? Hashem obviously has a will. All that's going on in the world right now, Hashem wants something from us. How are we supposed to know what HaKadosh Baruch Hu really wants from us? Well, CNN is not going to tell us. And the LA Times is not going to tell us. And the New York Times, the biggest anti-Semitic newspaper in the world, is not going to tell us. So who's going to tell us? Hashem's going to tell us. His Torah is going to tell us. The shiurim that we go to are going to try to enlighten us, that we should understand and we should know, what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu want? You think I listen to shiurim myself. I also want CHIZUK. I also want to know what Hashem wants. I also want to know what the great people of our generation are saying of what we should take out of the whole situation that we find ourselves in. Where should we be turning our energies and our focus right now in this world? It's important. But we have to ask Hashem, Yechaneinu HaKadosh Baruch Hu, grant us these spiritual gifts that we should understand. And he says, when it says in this pasuk, Yo'ir Panav, Hashem, you should shine your countenance among us, it means that these goals which means that we should know what you want from us, which direction Klal Yisrael should be going in. And if we take the words of the Metzudas Dovid, that means we're supposed to increase our Emunah during this time and connect ourselves deeper to Hashem. We want you to enlighten us and illuminate us with these ideas so that it'll be so clear to us, we'll know what you want us to do. We'll see Emunah, we'll feel Emunah. I said this over 1,000 times over the years, I'm sure. There was the Chazon Ish, was the greatest, probably the greatest leader of his generation. He sat in Bnei Brak and he ran all of Klal Yisrael. And he spoke greatly about Emunah. He has a whole sefer, Emunah v'bitachon, speaks about what Emunah is, what it really means, real Emunah in a person's life. And at the same time that he was in Bnei Brak, one of the other Gedolei Yisrael was of Yecheskel Levenstein Zeches Adon Yivracha, who was the mashkiach originally of the Mir in Europe, and then in Eretz, and then in Yerushalayim, and then he went to Panovich. He became the mashkiach of the Panovich Yeshiva. And the Chazon Ish used to say the following about Rav Chatzkel Levenstein. He said there are some people that have Emunah in their brains. It's a good place to start. There are others that have Emunah in their hearts. That's a much deeper level. If it went from here to here, that means you feel you're living with Emunah. He said Rav Chatzkel has Emunah in his hands, which means that it was so tangible to Rav Chatzkel Levenstein that you could see the Emunah in his actions, in what he did, how he lived, how he made decisions. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to up the game in our Emunah right now. And so we're asking Hashem, illuminate, enlighten us. Let us see you. Let us understand you better. Let us be able to get more in contact with that, your Ratzon, your will, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so we should be able to live in such a way. And therefore we ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu, make it known the goals of His ways, of His will. Not only to us, it says in the pasuk over here, it doesn't say Yoyer upon of Eleno, that you should enlighten to us, but rather Itanu, you should enlighten amongst us, which means we want you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, be at our side, be amongst us, be with us, so that His rule will shine forth in our history through our own acts, so that Hashem's ways and intentions will become known to all of the others if they will study our history and our lives. Meaning, it's not enough that we just ma'aminim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we believe in you, we're trying, we're grasping to be able to come in contact with you. We needed that in the schus of that Emunah, you are right here by our side. That we should know, that we should feel, that we should be aware that we're not walking through life all by ourselves, but rather we are walking through life together with you. I had an interview with a soldier in the IDF who himself went through 3 weeks as a hostage at one point in his tenure as a soldier. Not during this one now, in a different battle, I forget how many years ago it was, he was taken hostage by the Palestinians, and it was, obviously you could only imagine what that means. Baruch Hashem, he was freed. And he fought in many battles. Life has been on the line. And so the interviewer asked him, this was already at the beginning of you're like on the edge now of Gaza, you're ready to go in. So how do you feel? Are you scared? Are you nervous? Are you have adrenaline pumping in you? How do you feel? So he answered immediately. He said, I'm not scared. I got rid of fear a long time ago. Why? Because everywhere that I go in my travels, everywhere that I am in the battles, I know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with me every step of the way. If I would tell you how many miracles Hashem has made for me to be alive right now at this time, trust me, I know that there's not a single step that I take in battle that Hashem is not right there. And as a result, I fear nothing because I have Hashem with me. Dovid HaMelech is saying over here, we want you to be itanu, you have to be amongst us. You have to be right here. When I'm walking to shul on Shabbos, how many shilas have I received over the last several weeks? Can we carry guns? Can we carry pepper spray? Can we not go to shul? Can we take the mezuzahs down from our door? Can we pretend that we're not? All these questions. What are we worrying about? Hashem is eternal. Hashem is with us. He's walking with us. He's in our abodes. He's in our homes. He's in our cars. He's with us on the streets. But we have to believe that. And we have to feel that. And if we increase our emunah, if we bring our emunah to a new level, a new madrega that has never been on before, you then will feel that. Rav Chatzkel Levenstein, he was by World War II. He's one of the miracle of the Mir Yeshiva that traveled from Europe, got their passports and traveled all the way to Shanghai. And he was the one that every single step of the way, he would call the shots. He would tell the Jew, okay, we're going to move now. We're staying over here for the next few days. Okay, you wake up in the morning, we have to travel right now. It's dangerous. And they asked him at the end, Rav Chatzkel, how did you know when to go, when not to go? He said, it was very easy. My Rabbi Yerucham Levavitz, used to come to me in a dream the night before, tell me exactly what to do. This is a man of tremendous levels of ruchnius. He was once walking in an area, it was like a battlefield. And there was a war that was going on, but he had to cross the field to get from one side to the other. No weapons, no guns, no sword, no knife. He just had B'Shem Hashem, just HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And as he's walking through the field, he keeps repeating this pasuk that we say, Eilu berechev, there are some that are on chariots, Veilu bechev, and there are some with their swords. V'anachnu b'shem Hashem ekra, but I call out in the shame of Hashem. And he kept repeating this verse again and again and again and again. And he walked from one side to the other side. There's bullets flying. There's a war going on in front of him. He's just calling out, but I am calling upon the name of Hashem. That's Emunah, where Hashem is Itana, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is together with us. Again, are we going to reach the levels of Chatzkel Levenstein? Are we going to reach the levels of Avraham Avinu? Are we going to reach the levels of the greatest Maminim of all generations? Halavai that we will, but probably not today and not tomorrow. But we have to strive. We have to strive to go up in our Emunah, and that means whatever we need to do to protect our minds and our hearts from getting swayed, protect yourself. Whatever you need to strengthen, you have to do. Otherwise, we're going to go through this whole period. You know, it's like, I think to myself, thinking about it these days, we all went through COVID. And we were convinced, with all of the introspection that we had and all the time that we had to ourselves and locked up in our homes and learning and studying and saying Tehillim and working on ourselves and the changes we're going to make and all the things, we'll never be the same, we'll never be the same, we'll never be the same. COVID finished and everybody was so excited, take off the masks. Go back to shul, go back to the restaurants, go back on the airplane, and be able to fly once again and go visit people. And we forgot about all the things that we said we're going to do and will never do again, because we realized how precious and valuable and how fragile life is. And how many serious, concrete changes did we make? On the other hand, any psychologist and any studier of history knows that the damage that was done to most of us over those years of COVID was far worse than whatever growth and whatever strength and whatever changes that we made in our life. So now we're in I think, a more serious position right now in history, because this is Klal Yisrael. COVID was the whole world. This is Klal Yisrael right now. This is fighting for the nitzchus, for the eternal link of our nation. This is fighting for good against evil, moral against immoral, humanity against inhumanity. This is HaKadosh Baruch Hu against the whole world. And Klal Yisrael is the one that's under the scrutiny of the world right now. So what are we going to do during this time in history? How are we going to respond? Are we thinking to ourselves, maybe HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants me to change? Maybe HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants me to do more in my life. Maybe Hashem wants me to push myself harder in areas that have been so hard for me all these years. I used to listen to a shir from a chashiva, a Rav in Eretz Yisrael. And he said that since the war broke out, things that he couldn't change about himself for years, he changed overnight. He said, I can't describe. He said the eminence of what is going on right now. Just the necessity of HaKadosh Baruch Hu there's a whole war that's going on, and we don't know what's going to be the future. And we need schusim for Klal Yisrael. He said, things that I've been grasping at for years, I did like that. Now, we're living in California, so we don't feel the pressure of war. We don't feel the powers that are going on over here. We're very, Baruch Hashem, very cushy. Some of us are probably complaining, and it's a little bit stuffy in this room right now because I forgot to turn on the air conditioning. That's what's going through my mind anyway. Yeah, that's going through my mind. Now, so we're not worried. We're not worried about day to day what is going to be. We're not thinking to ourselves, Klal Yisrael needs so many schusim. But that's what it's saying. We need merits. We need merits. Our family needs merits. Klal Yisrael needs merits. The soldiers need merits. The Eretz Yisrael needs merits. The Jews all over the world need merits right now. In Washington, in Denmark, in France, all over the place, going crazy right now. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we ask Him, Hashem, enlighten us to what you want from us. Illuminate our lives that we should see your ratzon. What is your will? What are you demanding of us during these times? And you should be itanu. You should be together with us, amongst us. We should feel you. We should know you. We should live with you. And if we do that, then we start going up and up and up and up. We transcend this world and the levels that when we go to a place, in a regular time, you wouldn't be able to reach it. It's like the Yom Noraim. When you're davening on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, especially only by the end over there of the Ilah, you could reach places in your davening you'll never reach it on a regular weekday. You'll never reach it on a Wednesday afternoon at 4 o'clock in the afternoon when you're sitting in your house davening by yourself. You'll never reach it. It's that moment in shul, by the Ilah, when you're crying and screaming out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you get catapulted to a higher level. This is like the Ilah for Klal Yisrael. It's like we always wonder, how are we going to hold on to the Yom Noraim? At the end, whatever CHIZUK we got, whatever inspiration we want to hold on and hold on and hold on. Hashem did not end the Yom Noraim this year. It's still going on. We see Unasana Taikif in front of our eyes every single day. Mi ba'esh, who's going to live, who's going to die, who by water, who's going to be this, who's going to be peaceful, who's going to... We see it in front of our eyes all day long. That means Yom Noraim is still going on. That means it's a very special time for us. That means that you could accomplish things during this time in history in our lives you could not accomplish on a regular November or a regular Cheshvan or a regular Kislev which is coming. There are things, it's real, it's serious, it's intense right now. It's like Ne'ilah. And you can cry out to Hashem and you can make commitments. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give you siyat d'shmaidim to follow through with the commitments. And if we do that, then Be'ez Hashem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is itanu. Hashem is together with us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching over us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is seeing a nation of maminim, people that are stretching the bandwidth of our Emunah, of our mitzvahs, of our Yirah Shamayim, of our connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He sees us stretching and stretching, pumping up the muscles that we never used before. And Hashem says, for that, I'm going to give you a reward. Because Hashem doesn't skip over, like the Mesilas Yesharim says, He doesn't skip over the maminim, those that believe in Hashem, and not give them the reward they deserve. We deserve reward for believing in Hashem, especially during this time, staying calm and focused and relaxed and connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for getting rid of things that we don't need in our lives because we know that it's not conducive to our spiritual growth. Get rid of it. Someone just told me the other day, I mentioned in one of my shirim in Lashon Hara, about maybe this is a time in a person's life where they should think seriously about getting rid of social media. What do we need it for? What do we need the Lashon Hara media? It's all Lashon Hara, could destroy people. What do you need it for in our lives? Get rid of it. So somebody sent me a message afterwards. He said, I just got rid of my social media yesterday because I realized that it's doing such evil and such terrible things and it's not helping me at all. It's just making things worse. I just got rid of it yesterday. That's what Hashem wants. What app can you just get rid of from your phone? What show can you stop watching? What news station can you not listen to today because you know it just, every time you listen, you start shaking and trembling and you're on edge. What could we do? The more that we make Mesiras Nefesh sacrifices in those areas, the greater we express our Emunah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then Hashem says, I'm itanu, I'm with you. I'm right with you, right by your side, and you'll feel me, and you'll see me, and you'll know me, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it will give you the strength to keep walking the streets on Shabbos, to keep being proud to be a Jew, to not look over your shoulder everywhere that you go, nervous with everything. You'll be peaceful. You'll be relaxed. Chaskel Levenstein walked through a battlefield. Everybody has their horses and their chariots and their ammunitions, but anachnu b'shem Hashem ekra, we call out in the Shem of Hashem, and if we do that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give us the reward that He wants to give to the Ma'amin and to those that believe in Him, and that'll be a schus for ourselves, our family, for the Klal Yisrael in the world, and certainly for Klal Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael, and those that are fighting on the front lines who need such siyata d'shemaya, such miracles every single step that they take. Like that one soldier said, I'm not afraid, because I know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with me. May all of the soldiers know that Hashem is with them. Fight the battles for the sake of the Jewish people and the nitzchias of Klal Yisrael, and we have to keep fighting our battles for the sake of our nitzchias, for our families, for Klal Yisrael. And in that zechusim Yitz Hashem, Hashem will make His name known, His great name known, not just to us, but all the nations of the world will know about Hashem, and will all serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'simcha, ba'av, b'yira, b'shem Hashem ekra, in the name of Hashem we call out.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi.
You're welcome. Yes. It says that's what Foyer brings down over here, that it was like a heavenly voice came out. He says it like this.
But just for listening to them?
This one in particular. They were given a holy vision of this particular, the words of this Tehillim and the menorah, and therefore Dovid HaMelech put that menorah onto his shield.
Where would you speak to found the menorah?
Oh, so a good question. So the Chida, who was one of the great Kabbalistic rabbis of previous generations, he says that he copied this statement, which says that the menorah was designed and etched into the shield of Dovid HaMelech, from someone by the name of Shlomo Luri, who was the Maharshal, who was a greater sage from before him. There was an original manuscript that he found of it, and I guess, I don't know that it had the picture, maybe it had the picture as well of the menorah, and that's what we have. You're welcome. Yeah, and I think you find it actually in many, by the Sfardim for sure, I think you find this, yes. Maybe we have to get one over here.